It's been 3 years since we've been back to Italy. Nearly a decade ago, I inherited the stone house and farm that my great-grandparents left behind when they emigrated to the United States. Before the pandemic, my wife Rika and I had been visiting regularly to work on restoring the house. Just one day before our last trip, we found out she was pregnant. This is our first trip here together with our son. There are a few major projects that we'll need to finish before leaving, but part of our goal for this trip is to introduce him to this area. By our 30s, we had lived in 9 major cities across 4 countries. That period was a time of growth for us, but our connections to those places always felt very tenuous and transient. There was no one place in the world that really felt like home. No place we felt permanently connected to. Records show that there had been an ancestor of mine living in this area going back at least 15 generations. It's likely many of them had lived here even centuries before. When I initially heard that I would inherit this property, to be honest, I wasn't interested. It didn't really fit with my vision of the future. But around that time, Rika and I had already been questioning our basic assumptions about our priorities in life. She shared with me her love of nature, gardening, good food. I realized that savoring and noticing what nature has to offer can, in itself, add texture and richness to life. After many long discussions, we started imagining a lifestyle here that would be in better alignment with our values and priorities. It isn't yet possible for us to move here full-time, but we're working on getting to that point eventually. The house has remained mostly unchanged since the 1940s. There's no electricity. The only water source is a stone well fed by a natural spring. The ground floor of the house was used to shelter animals. It was their body heat and a fireplace that heated the living area on the floor above. There's no driveway. When my grandmother and her brother lived here as children, the family either walked or rode by horseback when they needed to travel. Today, we can only reach the house by car when the ground is dry enough. Like all families living in the area, they were largely self-sufficient, growing and making essentially all of their own food. Many households here still live like this today. When I first visited the house in my 20s, it was like traveling back in time. Inside, artifacts of their former lives still remained. Old agricultural tools, chairs and furniture, copper pots and cooking utensils that had long since corroded through. The house itself was covered with vines and surrounded by oak trees, and the roof had accumulated enough decomposed leaf litter that there was grass growing on top. It looked like a scene from a fairy tale, lush and green. But even though these overhanging trees created a beautiful atmosphere, they also caused some damage to the roof as they occasionally dropped dead branches. A few years ago, we started removing some of these trees.
There we go.
But one of them had some complications. For one thing, this tree is leaning heavily toward the house, and all of its canopy grows directly over the roof. If it were just cut at the base in the usual way, it would fall onto the house. So I started investigating how professional arborists would deal with a situation like this. There are a few of them on YouTube who show their work process and methods. I quickly realized that removing a tree like this is very complicated, and there are many dangerous scenarios that could emerge in the process. Even professional arborists are sometimes critically injured or die doing this kind of work. But
I didn't manage to find a local company that I was convinced could do the work safely. And so, having understood the broad strokes of what needed to be done, I started to feel like this was something I could do myself. I'd never held a chainsaw before, so learning about chainsaw safety and maintenance was the first task. I bought all of my climbing gear in the US and brought it to Italy as checked baggage in the airplane. I bought 2 saws in Italy, a top-handled saw for canopy removal and a larger saw for cutting thicker limbs in the trunk. It's in my nature that if a challenging task seems within reach for me, if I feel that I have it in me to do something new and difficult, then I tend to be attracted to that. I tend to want to stretch my limits.
Oh gosh. Okay. Okay. Let's see. Okay. This one doesn't need a saw. Uh-oh. Oh, well.
This next part of the removal is a little complicated. We're going to be using the Mazdam puller, which is anchored on the base of another tree over there.
What makes this complicated is that this area seems to be partially hollow, and it's also back leaning. So there are a number of things that could go wrong.
Alright, so this hole goes in yay deep. You know, on a tree that's maybe more than half the diameter, at least at this point. It's pretty deep. I mean, so I don't really know what's going on inside here, but a good part of this seems hollow. So I've set up these two ratchet straps here to just kind of hold this together. I think what I might do is shallow open face cut here, and then a deep back cut, all the while keeping the Mazdam tensioned. I'm pretty nervous about this, to be honest, but I think that's the way to do it. Yeah, this is like hollow.
It's going. Yeah. When Giovanni first told me he wanted to do this removal, the idea scared me. He's not impulsive or imprudent, but I knew just enough about trees to know that they are unpredictable and wood can just crush a person if something goes wrong. I thought it was a bad idea. I grew up in Silicon Valley. My parents were software engineers. DIY projects just weren't part of my childhood. The message I got was, if there's something that you want to do and you don't know how to do it, you look for an expert or sign up for a class. That became part of how I viewed my relationship to the world. Whenever I encountered a problem, I would think, I can't do this, and I would look for help. My first instinct is to maybe put myself into boxes that are smaller than they need to be. But I think that Giovanni has a good sense of what his true limits are. We've had these debates for years. I would decide I wanted to do a thing, but I often didn't know how to take the next step to make my plans real. The hard part is the process of mapping out exactly what needs to be done. And everything depends on that plan. I feel like I finally understand the whole process of getting a project like that done from start to finish, where you don't know almost anything to begin with, but you're just driven by the question, you're driven by motivations and desires to do things right and well. I feel like I'm gonna be a little bit more willing to do those kinds of things in the future and not think that I need to be told how to do things every single time. It makes me want to do more work. It makes me want to come up with my own ideas and have some other fun projects where we can say we did that ourselves. It's really important to us that our son sees us doing these things. We're also having him participate when possible. I think it's empowering for a child to know that they are capable of contributing.
We decided to leave the trunk of the tree standing until our next visit so that we can mill it into timbers for the roof. Timber is an excellent building material. It can last hundreds of years if it's kept dry. But the roof wasn't maintained well and had been leaking for decades, so there's quite a bit of rot. Even though the tree has damaged the roof in recent years, it also protected the house from hail and strong winds. I kind of like the idea that the same wood will be used to strengthen and protect the house. I built this platform for stacking our firewood using limestone collected from our fields. You have to choose the stones so that they fit together and won't move. It's hard work and requires a little thinking. It would have been faster to just use cinder blocks or something, but part of our goal here is to use the natural materials coming from our land when possible. We also want to create a certain look and feel. We're very willing to put in extra time and effort to build durable, beautiful things. In a future video, we can go into the details about our plans for energy and heating, but what I can say right now is that part of our model will include the use of firewood. Today, there are wood gasification furnaces that are over 95% thermally efficient. As an energy source, firewood has the advantage of being carbon negative when sustainably harvested. Sustainable harvest in this case means that the forest is large enough that new growth offsets what is cut down each year. We already have quite a few oak trees here, but in order to have enough firewood for one household essentially forever, we'll need about 4 hectares of forested area. We've already repurposed some formerly cultivated fields to allow them to naturally progress toward forest.
That was easier.
There are many benefits to having our own hardwood forest. For one thing, having control over our energy sources would give us a certain level of security and certainty. The situation with natural gas in Europe right now, I think, demonstrates how valuable that is. Owning our own forest, we could also mill timber for use in construction, which not only saves money, but we can be very choosy about the quality of that timber, using only the best. Certain wild foods preferred to grow in forests, like mushrooms, berries, nuts, and certain edible plants. Forests are also great habitats for birds and insects, increasing the biodiversity of the area. The sound of leaves blowing in the wind and birds chirping creates a peaceful atmosphere too. Long ago in this area, and all across Europe really, people also used to bring their pigs out to the forest for part of the year so they could eat acorns and be fattened on them. So it's also a possible food source for animals that we might keep. Splitting firewood isn't as difficult as you'd think. It's kind of fun too. It's not all about strength. There's a little bit of technique involved in knowing where to strike and how hard. We already have some firewood that's been drying for a while that we can use next time. But the wood that we've just split will need to dry before we can burn it. The drier it is, the cleaner it burns. If this place will eventually be a rural homestead, it should first of all be a home. The idea of home that we would like to create here isn't just a building that we happen to sleep in at night. It's not just an asset to be bought or sold. We have neighbors here who knew my great-grandparents very well, and whose grandchildren have now met our son. That continuity and permanence of presence is rare in the modern world. There's a story here that's unique to us, and what we do here together will be the next chapter in that story. We also plan to customize the house to fit with our homestead model and to personalize it to our aesthetic preferences. Personalization is by its nature inconvenient. It takes too long and requires more effort than others may judge worthwhile. Not everyone cares about such things, but we do. And I think that creating our own rural aesthetic here, using the materials we have available, is a form of artistic expression in a way. A well-designed space is something that you never get tired of looking at. It should energize you and lift your spirits. We've only just started sketching the outlines of the project, but it's important to me that the end result creates feelings of comfort and wellness. And by choosing to do much of the work here ourselves, we are investing emotionally in the building. It always feels good to care for someone or something that you love. It's about more than just finishing tasks. It's about creating memories that tie us to this place.
A little bit of a split. Hey, not cool. Doesn't look cool.